Okay, anytime that you have data that is sorted by time, you can plot it with the scatter plot. It's called a time series. And if we look in on the crime worksheet in the data series, as well as in section, I think it's section 2.4. Yeah, section 2.5 in the textbook. They look at this, and so we've got a year. So we could plot all of these. There's so many different things that we can plot in this particular data set, but we can plot it as a function of year. And so let's. I think what they want you to do is plot maybe violent crime and property crime. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to left click and Control Shift down arrow, and that gives me. You can see I've only got 52 data points, it looks like. But I'm going to go back up to the top, and I'm going to hold the control key down, and I'm going to left click on violent crime. What else do they want? And property, so I'm going to get violent crime. And then I'm still holding the control key down, and I'm going to get property crime. And I'm going to build a scatter plot. Now, the most important thing when you grab data that's not contiguous, when it's not adjacent, is you've got to grab the same number of rows, or it's going to bark at you. It won't know what to do. So now that I've got this is what we're going to do is plot a scatter plot, which is called an XY chart. It likes to put the leftmost column on the horizontal axis, which is exactly what I want. Your time series, your time data should always be on the horizontal or the x-axis. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead, since the data is sorted by time, I'm going to go ahead and connect them like this. And you've got property crime in the red, violent crime in the blue. You have a lot more property crime than you do violent crime. If you wanted to, you could put these on two different axes. You could put move violent crime and put it over on a different axis. So I'm going to format the data series. And I could plot it on the secondary axis. Now when you do that, you just need to be careful, because what it doesn't do, what Excel doesn't do really clear, is tell you which axis is on which. We know that we put violent crime on this axis, and you can see the scale is very different than this one. But nowhere, so you probably ought to add a title to this. On this particular chart, you probably want to add some axis titles, like add this one. You probably ought to add this one, so that you could be explicit and they know which is which. To do that, because otherwise it's hard to know that this red is referencing this axis and this blue is referencing this axis. But that's a time series, and again, we use this to take advantage of understanding data and looking more in depth of what happens, and be able to discover patterns, discover trends, tendencies. You can do many more things, but that's just the basics. Thanks.